Hi there, my name's Kirsten. This is the Paper Knits Podcast, episode number 30. And I'm a knitter from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I really love to knit. And I really love getting to talk about my knitting with all of you on the internet. So thank you for being here. You can find me on Instagram as @paper.knits. And I'm on Ravelry as This Is Paper Knits. And feel free to subscribe here on YouTube. Episode number 30, that's exciting. It's November 8th today. I've been wanting to film this for like a week, and just like haven't had a chance to. So I have so much to show you. There's definitely been a lot of knitting happening. Last I filmed, I think was start of October. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I feel like the teacher strike here in Alberta had just started. Oh yeah, it must have been like right away at the beginning. Cause yeah, my kids were upstairs watching YouTube while I was down here filming. So yeah, teacher strike lasted for like 3 weeks. Teachers were ultimately just like legislated back to work. They were forced to go back to work. The government refused to negotiate with the union. And yeah, it's been it's been a stressful time politically here in Alberta, which isn't new, but yeah, it's been a lot. So the legislature met like on Monday, pushed through legislation on Tuesday. Everyone was back to school on Wednesday. Yeah. So anyways, my kid's been back. Oh yeah, and then my son was immediately sick. That's right. So yeah, they went back to school on Wednesday, but like Tuesday, my younger son like got a fever. He was like quite sick. And so then he like didn't even go on the first day back. And then I got sick that weekend. And so then I spent, once they were like actually back in school, I was just like not feeling good for a couple of days. Anyways, it was a long 3 weeks. I'm like absolutely in support of the teachers. And also like it's a lot to have. It was basically like another month of summer holidays, right? Like, and we didn't know how long it was going to last. And it was just, we were really like unstructured at home, and it was a lot. So, we spent a lot of time down in my knitting room hanging out together because I would sit and knit and the kids would be playing in here, or we like played so many games. My younger son especially like quite likes playing games, but usually he really likes playing games with grandma, and we don't play as many games at home, but we played so many games. And yeah, learned Monopoly, had a lot of tears about Monopoly, had some chats about hoarding of resources, how sometimes people have a lot of money because of luck. I was trying to give a anti-capitalist approach to our Monopoly games. Anyways, yeah, we made it through, but it was a long few weeks of just like uncertainty and stress and weird mixed up schedule and all of that. So it's nice to kind of be back into a routine. I just barely feel like I'm back in. The kids have had like a full week of school now back. There was time change at the start of that. And so like time change this go around like really hit me hard. And I feel like now maybe I've like adjusted, like it's been a week. And I'm still a little bit, can you still hear me? I'm a little bit congested still. So anyways, that's a life update. Thank God for knitting, man. It has been, yes, an important coping mechanism this last month. So, let me tell you what I'm wearing. This is the Do You Yoke by Zanetti Knits, which I knit when was that? January 2024. It was like a mystery sweater knit along. She like got sections of the like pattern throughout the course of like, I don't know, 6 weeks or something, a month. And I really like it. I knit mine with De Rerum Natura Albertine. It's like a merino silk mix. It's really nice. I really like the fit of it. I like the color work. Yeah, it's great. Oh, it's also like we finally got snow here as of yesterday. But it has been chillier the last couple of weeks. And so that has meant so much knitwear, which is like the only thing that I like about the cold. Not that there's snow, it feels better. When it's just cold and it's been drizzly and rainy, and like rain in October in Alberta is weird. Like we don't usually have rain. We would just have snow, right? On Halloween, it was so chilly and blustery. We didn't have snow, but it was just, yeah. Anyways, I've been wearing a lot of knitwear, and so I have been enjoying that. And I'm like swapping out my different scarves and toques and a headband that I finished and my mittens, and like that's nice. It's like a little boost of like fun now that the weather has turned. Okay, so I don't have any FOs today. I have another almost FO, and maybe we'll talk about that first. So you might remember my Riggies cardi that I started in March. That is just now almost finished. I'm not sure when the last time I talked about this was. Did I talk about it last time? I don't have it in my notes, but I feel like I had, so not sure. Okay, this is the Riggies cardi. It is a pattern by Gudrun Johnston from the Grand Shetland Adventures book. I bought my yarn for this last Christmas. I cast it on in March. It is still not finished. Most of the knitting is done. I had been feeling very indecisive about how I was going to do the neckband, like the button band / like collar, and that had really stalled me out. So but I finished it now. It took me 2 days once I finally decided what I was going to do. But I ultimately did basically what the pattern told me to do, which was to knit it in garter rib, but I knit it double and then folded it over. So like I knit it twice as wide, and then I folded it over and tacked it down on the inside. Part of my dilemma is that I don't really like what the inside of the garter rib looks like. That's what the inside of the garter rib looks like. Birdie has joined us. Are you gonna sit on my knitting? This is what the outside of the garter rib looks like. And so when it was gonna be on the collar, and if it was gonna like hang open, I was gonna be able to see the like wrong side of the garter rib, and I didn't like that. And so I had this great plan that I was going to knit a double knit button band. Started doing that, ran into a bunch of issues with my gauge, and that really stalled me out. And then when I knit my son's, the little headband for my son's toque, I knit this tube that I have like stitched onto the inside of my son's toque so that it's a little bit softer and cozier for him on my knitting machine. And I was like, this is amazing. It worked so well. This was like sock weight yarn. It's Shepya's Metropolis. And it just like worked so well. Every time I try my knitting machine, I like run into all these problems. I didn't run into problems with this. I was like, okay, I can knit a double knit button band essentially on my knitting machine and then just attach it, like sew it onto my cardigan afterwards. So then I started trying to do that, and then just like immediately ran into a bunch of problems. So I had started knitting an applied double knit button band, ran into all these gauge issues, discovered, no, I don't have to knit it directly onto the cardigan. Like I could just knit the whole thing and then sew it on to the cardigan. And so I started trying to do that. And this was my first go at that. And I've got my one little buttonhole in there, but like this edge was funny. I was knitting the edge stitch instead of slipping it, and it was weird, and so I didn't like that. And then I was like, I should really go back and fix that. That's gonna bug me. That like, you know, I changed partway through. I don't really feel like doing that. I was like, okay, I'll just restart it, and instead of knitting the buttonhole side first, I'll knit the other side first. Started going with that. It's like, it's very nice. It looks very professional. I liked the idea of like all of the garter ridges on the cardigan with the stockinette button band, but it's like so slow to knit, and I like started dropping stitches, and I was like, okay. So I tried to do it on my knitting machine. It did not go well. So this was one of my attempts. This is using just the lace weight yarn that I'm holding with this, not the DK, because the DK plus the lace is too thick for my knitting machine. But like this looks horrendous. This was my other attempt. Like that does not look good. So I gave up on that. And then decided, you know what? I just really want to wear this sweater. I have been wearing it without the collar / whatever we're calling it. I just decided to pick it up like it was supposed to be in the pattern. It literally took me like 2 days to knit it. Yeah, I've got my little buttonholes. I need to sew the buttonholes together from like the 2 sides, and need to decide on buttons. I think I've got some picked out, and it's so close to being done. I wore it to knit night, and while I was at knit night, I knit a pocket, and so you knit the pockets kind of in a similar shape as the construction of the sweater, and then attach them on. But I was like, I don't know if I like this. But then I knit the other one and kind of like laid them out on my cardigan, and I was like, they just don't look right. They look kind of small and just like not in proportion with the rest of the sweater. It's just like very oversized, and it's just stalling out again. So that's why I say like it's so close to being done. It's almost an FO. I need to do like a little bit more finishing here to like just kind of like, oh, Margot's here now. Oh my gosh, can you see that? Oh dear. Oh dear. This is what Margot does. Birdie is someplace. Margot comes and takes over that space. Birdie is scared, and so Birdie leaves. And then now Margot is just sitting in that warm spot where Birdie was. And Birdie doesn't know where to go. Now she's sitting on top of my blanket and my pillow. Her tail is touching Margot, which is unusual. I think I'm gonna like whip stitch the button bands together. I tried to do like a crochet chain together, but it was way too visible, and so I think I'm just gonna try and like, yeah, kind of whip stitch it together. Hopefully next time this will actually be an FO. I will give my proper like overview of the entire project. I do really like it. I have been wearing it. It's not soft. I didn't say what the yarn was, but it is called Fiala Lopi. And then I'm also holding it with a lace weight alpaca, which does soften it a little bit, but it's not soft, but it's very cozy and very woolly and very oversized, and just like my house sweater which is exactly what I was envisioning it to be. And so it will be good once it's done. I was feeling motivated to finally like do something else with it, because I want to add it to my spreadsheet of like FOs and all of my yarn that is out of my stash, because this was so much. I did figure out how much I'd used so far. This was, I think, before the pockets. You could sit there. Nope, there she goes. It is based on my kind of like rough calculations, not factoring into all of this waste, I guess. It's 3,400 meters of stash to get out of my stash and add to my out list of like on my spreadsheet, and like help me break even for the year. That's what motivated me to finally do something about it. And I still don't feel like I'm quite allowed to say that yet, if like that it's an FO. So anyways, Riggies cardi. Gudrun Johnston this week has been wearing a Riggies vest that it's going to be a pattern in her upcoming vest book. And so apparently she'd been getting a lot of questions about it because it looks super cool on her. So then, yeah, she said it's coming out in her upcoming book. I love watching Gudrun Johnston's podcast, by the way. She's like in Shetland right now. She just did a like little interview with Hazel Tyndall, and it's just very lovely. You should absolutely go and watch her podcast. I will say now, this is finally an FO. I have attached the little like headband thing onto the inside of the toque. I did like duplicate stitch, I guess, kind of, to knit it on, and so it's much more stretchy than before. My son tried it on and then was like, yeah, that feels better, and then took it off and like walked away. So he hasn't worn it yet. I think I am going to block it because I think that will soften it a little bit. I've steamed it. You can definitely see like a bit of a ridge here where it's attached, and like it's thicker here, but I don't know if you've noticed that once it's on. Anyways, I should wash it. I do think, yeah, it might be more acceptable to him if it's just like a tad softer. So yes, that is finished. Okay, next exciting project update. I have a sleeve and do not have another sleeve. I was really hoping that this one would be done. so that I could share this as an FO as well. But alas, it is not. This is my Kiruna cardigan, which is a test knit for Ellis Knitwear. I'm knitting it in Brooklyn Tweed Arbor. It has just been such a lovely knit. I have enjoyed it so much. And then I finished this sleeve and I was like, I just don't feel like picking up the other sleeve. And so it's been, I haven't touched it in 2 weeks. And I have 12 days to finish. So I will finish it, but I just have not yet. And that's part of why I hadn't podcasted yet. Cause I was like, I decided in my mind that this was going to be done so I could show it off as an FO. And then, I haven't done that. I've been just doing other things. So anyways, I probably don't need 2 woolly sweaters on right now. But yes, this sleeve is picked up. So I talked about before about how when I picked up for my button band, a couple of my steek stitches came loose from my needle felting. And so, oh my goodness, what are you attached to? Before I picked up for this sleeve, I went back and needle felted it a bit more, and that was great. So you can kind of see that it's felted. And then versus this one, which is just like a little bit more, it's hard to see because it's rolling now, but it's just like not quite as felted. So that is what has deterred me, is that I have to go back, re-needle felt this, which did not take me that long, pick up all the stitches, figure out where I'm at in the colorwork pattern. My row gauge is a little bit off, and so I picked up the number of sleeve stitches for the size 3, but I'm knitting size 4, I think. And then I was having a hard time following the pattern. The decreases are charted, but only till a certain point, and then you just like keep going as is, like continue on in the same way. And I was having a hard time figuring out how to do, like, where I was at in the colorwork chart when I was doing the decreases. And so that kind of slowed me down for like the last like 2/3 of the sleeve. And so that has also been a bit of a deterrent for me of like picking up the other one. But I just need to do it now. So look how nice the inside of it is. Like, it's so pretty. Very proud of my floats. This I have been steam blocking as I go, and you can just like, you can watch the fabric change like as you steam block it. It's so lovely. And so I will also wet block it once it's all done, but it's looking really good. So this is coming. This is like deep stash, and so I'm also feeling like I really want to get this finished, add it to my list of like yarn that has been used, but not quite there yet. So on October 30th, I taught another knitting class at the Fiber Nook, and so this one was about fixing your knitting mistakes, and I will show you what I brought for that. I could pretend that this is an FO. This is what I brought to the class. It is like a tube of fabric stuffed with like polyfill, and I think you can like, it's meant for like finger knitting a blanket or like arm knitting, you know. This was one ball of this yarn I bought, but I was using this as like a very large visual demonstration of like, okay, let's say you drop a stitch and then it starts to run down, and what do you do? And oh my God, and how do we fix that? And then, oh wait, it's actually so easy. We just gotta like ladder it back up again. And I think the large scale of the stitches helped show it off when I had done the cable class in September, and I had my little like, I think it was like worsted weight swatch. It was like, this is hard to show people like what is going on. So we talked a lot about like the anatomy of a knit stitch and like how do you know which way the stitch is mounted on your needle. I had a big dowel that I had as like my pretend needle, and yeah, like which way the stitch is mounted, and we talked about putting in a lifeline after the fact, and what happens if you, pull your needle out, how do you pick up your stitches back up onto the needle again. We did like, what if you purposely drop down 2 stitches and then like add in a decrease. Talked a little about like tinking. What else? I think that was it. It was like a solid, like it was a 2-hour class. Everyone got there early, and so we started a little bit early and we went to like right till the end. It was just like solid 2 hours. And I think that it went well. I think that people like learned some stuff from it, and had some good feedback about my giant swatch. So anyways, I'm gonna save this. I'm like gonna hang it on my wall behind my loom. And then I'm also, I think, probably gonna be doing this class again in the new year. So anyways, that's something I made. But what I was gonna say is that on the day of my first knitting class in September is when I knit an entire headband that day, and as like my kind of stress knitting. And so that Thursday of this Fixing Your Knitting Mistakes class, I was like, hey, I should knit another headband. And so I had last year knit the Snowy Headband by Vera Valmaki, except I decided I didn't like the garter stitch, and so I was just going to do it in stockinette, and then it just like rolled in on itself so intensely, and I wore it all winter, and it kind of like, because it would like roll around my ears and like be very secure and warm. And it was Ancient Arts Heritage, which is like this beautiful like Alberta wool spun at an Alberta mill, dyed by Ancient Arts. I reknit it. So here's another Snowy Headband by Vera Valmaki in its proper form, with the garter stitch, which I have knit so much garter stitch this year now. I've decided that I love it. So I didn't knit this in one day. I did knit half of it before the class, and then when I got home, I didn't like keep working on it. I worked on it a couple days later, but it's all finished. I unraveled my one that I had made last year, and then just like immediately cast on again and kept knitting. I had like one little ball of yarn left over. I've made mittens and then the headband, and so I had one little nugget left over, and I used up every little bit of yarn. It's like a touch small. I could have like used another couple of rows, but like I wouldn't have had any yarn left. And so it's fine. It's snug, and it doesn't curl around my ears anymore, but it's definitely like secure on my head. And this is what I've been wearing this week as I've been like taking the kids to school. And one thing that I'm quite proud of, on my last one, I showed the join. Can hardly even see it here because I just joined it so well. Okay, I just like went and got my other one so I could show this better. So when I did the first one, I didn't do a invisible join where the 2 ends came. You start with a provisional cast on, and then you graft the 2 ends together. But I just did it like normal. I didn't do anything special. And so then when I did this one, I looked up how to graft garter stitch. Like you can basically barely see where it is. And so I was quite proud of that. And you just like change, normally if you're doing grafting, then you go like, in knitwise, take the stitch off, in purlwise, keep stitch on, and then purlwise, knitwise, knitwise, purlwise. And so you just like change which order you're doing that in. So it also meant that I could graft the I-cord in typical way and then switch and graft in garter. And it's like very, it's just very smooth and seamless, and I really like it. So here's my set now of my mittens and my headband matching. I definitely noticed that their color is a little bit different. So I used the mitts a ton last year, and so I don't know if they have just faded with use. But this is definitely more purple and darker, and this is definitely faded a little bit. So that's kind of interesting, but we'll see if this starts to fade. I don't know if it just like doesn't get as much wear when it's on my head versus on my hands when I'm like doing stuff. So anyways, that was a nice little quick project to work on. And get my hands busy that day as I was kind of anticipating the knitting class. So that was good. Here's a bit of an update about my Miles shirt jacket. This I had kind of put on pause for a while because I had to make choices about what I was going to do next, and if my heavy modifications I've been making to this pattern were correct or not. So I had knit this big back panel. I've got my saddle shoulders, and then I've knit the back panel, and I was trying to figure out how deep this was going to be. And like the arm, it's like the armhole depth essentially. And then I realized I don't actually have to make that decision. I can put this on hold, and then I can just start picking up on the front and make that decision later, and like kind of try it on then with like the front and the back together. And so that's what I did. So this is all I've knit. I just like picked up on my front, onto the front panel, and started doing a little bit of shaping. And so there's a little bit of kind of neckline shaping, and then I will just knit straight down until I get to whatever armhole depth I want, and then I will join the fronts and the backs and then just like keep knitting. So I still think it's going well. On the Gramercy tee, when you pick up for the front, you knit short rows to kind of shape this front section, and I decided not to do that just because it doesn't need to have quite as much, like I think, attention to fit. But I'm also not sure. Doesn't this look so good? This shaping here, I think I don't know where I'm at. I have a few more I'm supposed to do, but like I'm worried it's going to come in too far and just like not quite be the right shape for the neckline, the like neck hole opening. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, I haven't made much progress on this. It's a slow, I said this last time, it's a slow knit. It's knit at a very dense gauge, and it hurts my hands a little bit. So I'm just taking it easy, but I'm happy with how this is going so far. And I'll just keep working away at it. So, oh, you know what? When I had to put it onto an actual cable because I'm out of barber cords. I have one barber cord left, and I didn't want it to be stuck on this project, which may or may not get finished anytime soon. And so I have apparently more cables than I do barber cords. And so maybe that's a normal thing, but I use the barber cords for everything. And used to have to like hoard my cables because I didn't have enough to like, I have so many WIPs. I didn't have enough, but obviously I've increased my supply of cables. And so yes. Next WIP update here is my Nightbook by Rachel Ilsley / Unwind Knitwear. And so I've made, I think, quite a good progress on this. And I am continuing to love it. So you can start to kind of see the center diamond motif on the front panel. I'm about like just over halfway done knitting that. I have been steaming this and checking my gauge so many times. I'm worried that I'm going to be like way off, and my gauge is still a little bit tight. And when I tried it on, it feels a little bit big. And so I'm like, that feels backwards. Like it should be feeling too snug. So I don't know if it's just like the ease, it's round yoke. Like sometimes the fit of those is not the best on me. I'm knitting this based on my full bust circumference versus my like upper bust. And so that means that ease is distributed evenly around the entire circumference of the body, but I need more of that ease to the front. Whereas like that's the part of me that's making my bust circumference so big, obviously. And so yes, actually in the Ooey Gooey sweater by Andrew Mary, apparently there was instructions that if you wanted to change where you split for sleeves to add more space to the front, then you could do that. And I did have randomly done that before on a project, one of my like very first sweater projects that I knit, and I was like, let's just try. And I think it's worked out okay. I didn't do that on this. I have a bit of extra fabric now in the back, and so we'll see how that all looks once I actually, like I just have enough now from my, well, I've knit a few inches now since I split for sleeves. but it's just now I feel like I'm able to actually see how it's going to hang. So I've knit probably another inch since I tried it on last time, and so maybe I should try it on again with my one remaining barber cord. But anyways, I'm really enjoying this. The back is interesting. Let's see if I can show this. Okay, so this is my beginning of round, right? Like right where my stitch markers are. Almost jogless. Like this looks a little bit distorted here, but I think it's just being pulled. But it's almost jogless, and so I don't enjoy that on color work where you like see this very stark jog. And I don't know if I don't know if I kind of have a vague memory of her saying that she tries to limit that jog. Also, Zanetti Knits does that, and so this one has very minimal jog on the back. And it's just like such a nice like attention to detail that helps, I think, elevate the look of a hand knit. So anyways, I haven't actually worked on this in a little while because I've just been doing other things, but I can do like a few rounds at a time, and then I'm like, okay, I need a break of like 27 stitches color work. But I am definitely being able to follow the pattern a lot better than first time around when I knit this, and so I'm not having to go back and like fix color work mistakes or anything. And yeah, the yarn is just so lovely. Here's my I still haven't ripped out my first go around, but I'm gonna need to, I think, for the black soon. Oh no, that's a lie. I just wound up another ball of black. So I have these two left of the contrast. I've just wound up another ball of black. I'm gonna finish this diamond motif on the front, and then I think do the sleeves so that I can kind of gauge how much yarn I'm gonna need. Although I would rather have the full length of sweater that I want and like 3/4 length sleeves if I had to choose between the two. So I'm not sure. But anyways, it's coming along. I'm just like, I will be so glad to have this in my wardrobe. This is like a magnum opus knit for me. I'm just like really wanting this FO and like really enjoying the process of knitting it. So that's been fun. Here's a big update about my next project. Because last time I had just like barely started the neckband, but here's my ranunculus. And I completely ripped out what I had done before and have reknit the whole thing because I had said last time, like, wow, this neck hole looks so small. Like, this looks like it's for a child. Like, yeah, I could get it over my head. Had to take my glasses off. Had to pull it down, like, over my nose. So I was like, okay, this isn't... And it was so tight. Like, no, we're not doing this. And so I ripped that out, recast it on, and I am almost done all of the yoke section now. So you kind of see it a little bit better here. This yarn for sure hides the texture and stuff on here. But I like it. I think this is a perfect use for this yarn. This is deep, deep stash. You know what? Last time I said that I got it in 2021, I believe. I think it's actually from 2020. So even one more year after that, it's Wool Baron. The base is called Everything But Socks. And so it's like, it's 100% merino fingering weight yarn. I also, when I recast it on, I did the short rows in the back, but then I started alternating skeins right away. And I'm really glad I did because there is quite a difference between the two of them. Like hopefully that's showing up like how much lighter this one is. And so I don't know, like this one was still in its skein form and this one has been wound up in this tight little ball for 5 years. I don't know why this one is so different. I don't know if I have a picture of them when they were both in skein form. So anyways, I am alternating skeins and hopefully I don't end up with a marked difference between the two. I've done so many modifications on this ranunculus. The one that I made last summer, I'd made quite a few notes about like all the changes that I made, and thinking that then if I was going to reknit a similar one that I would like have all of my notes. I had taken a lot of notes. One of my friends used my notes to make her own ranunculus. And I was like, oh no, I don't know if I had felt confident enough in like that somebody else would be able to follow my like kind of nonsense. But she did it, and I think she's happy with how her sweater turned out. But now that I've been trying to follow my notes from last time, I'm like, wait, what? What did I do? Because I've just like, now I've changed the cast on amount again. I'm changing the increase rate. I'm changing which texture stitches I'm doing. Yeah, I've just been making lots of changes to it. So, I also then put it on a barber cord, spread it all out, gave it a nice steam block, and my stitch gauge, I didn't swatch for this. That was part of the whole purpose of it. My stitch gauge changed so much. Like, I think I was getting like 24 stitches per 4 inches, and it changed to like 17. And so I was doing foolishly doing all of my calculations based on my 24 stitch gauge. And then it grew to 17 stitches. Like, that's a huge difference. And so I have to crunch my numbers again. And so then this has been put to the side for a little while, because I have to make some choices. And I think I'm going to skip doing the raglan increases and just continue doing round yoke increases until I get to my desired circumference, and then we will continue on from there. But anyways, oh, you know what I did too? I initially knit instead of doing these eyelet sections, I was trying to do a texture section. And so instead of it, I still had kind of that little like flower shape, but I was doing it in like purl stitches. Knit that whole thing. It looked awful. Like, it didn't look like anything. It looked bad. It was completely hidden by the variation in the yarn color. And that almost like, okay, just kidding. I'm never working on this again. But I ripped it all back and then just knit it as written in the pattern with the actual like lace section. And I'm feeling proud of myself for hitting a few setbacks with this project and yet continuing on with it. Because I do think this is a good use for some very deep stash yarn. And I really like I really like the ranunculus I made last year. So hopefully this one, with all of my random modifications that I'm making on it, will look nice. Oh, one more random thing about this yarn. I had said quite a few times that it was purple. I still stand by that. Let me know if you think it is purple. I found the tag. So because no, that's a lie. I guess I had the tag because this one was still in a skein form. And so I have my tag called Everything But Socks Fingering, 100% 17 micron superwash merino, 2-ply, 389 meters per 115 grams. Great. And then I see what the color is called, and it's like 501S. Like, that's weird. Like, what does that mean, 501S? Like, is that like, it's hand-dyed yarn. Like, if you get some Jameson and Smith and you get the color 232, it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But like, why is the hand-dyed yarn company calling their yarn 501S? Like, that seemed weird to me. And then I remembered me having the same thought process when I bought this yarn 5 years ago. It's not 501S, it's 501s. Like the jeans, like Levi's 501s. And so I think it's jean colored, but it doesn't look like jeans to me. It looks purple. So, yeah, I felt silly and like how literally I was taking the numbers and letters that were on this tag without actually like putting it into context and being like, oh yeah, but I still think it's purple. So maybe there's purple 501s, but I would like those actually. Okay, folks, I think that I have one more WIP to show you. It is not all of my WIPs still, but it is a relevant WIP. And so look at this cute little thing I'm making. I'm doing the Winter Warmer hot water bottle cover test knit for Laura Penrose. And this is the little mini version, and just like, oh my goodness, look how cute it is. My mini hot water bottles are on their way, courtesy of Amazon. I have my big one in here somewhere. I was supposed to knit the big one, and I had a great plan about which yarn I was going to use. And the gauge for this is like 36 stitches per 4 inches, which is like quite tight. And I was getting 28 on a 2.25 millimeter needle. So it's like I have one more needle to go down to go to 2 millimeter. I do not have any smaller needles than that. I am not going to gain back 8 stitches over 4 inches by going down one needle size. So I was like, that yarn is not going to work. And so I tore apart my knitting room, looked through so many things. This is also very deep stash. It is from Midnight Maker, who was a local yarn dyer who is not making anymore, who was selling off the rest of her stock years ago. And I bought a whole bunch of random skeins. I've knit an entire sweater with those skeins, frogged that entire sweater, and have had the little balls of yarn in a pile ever since. They had all been in one very particular bag this entire time. I think I frogged that sweater in 2020 maybe. And when I had to deal with my stupid mystery bug, all of those little balls of yarn got taken out of that one very particular bag that they were in, and now they're in some random bin. But I feel like this is just like the perfect use for this. So it's just like, it's superwash merino nylon, and the white is a mystery that I know that I knit. I knit a toy cat for my son like a few years ago that he like never really cared that much about. Not surprisingly. And this was the white that I used. Like, I know that that's what it's from, but I can't think of what it is. Anyways, it's almost done. I'm almost done my tiny little hot water bottle cover. I have plans to knit another one. I bought a hot water bottle last year, I think, because all of the European knitters that I follow on social media always had cute hot water bottle covers, and they would talk about how they always had a hot water bottle, and like, why don't us North Americans why don't we do that? Like, yeah, you're right. Why don't I do that? And so I started using a hot water bottle last year, and it's like the best thing ever. Like, I have those like microwave bags, you know, that have got rice in them or whatever. Like, those are lovely too, but they cool down so fast. A hot water bottle holds its heat for hours. And Laura Penrose had said that she would bring hot water bottles to her kids' swimming lessons, and then they would be like, their towel would be warm, and then they'd snuggle with their hot water bottle. And so I started doing that last year too with my kids' swimming lessons, and like, they loved it. And so, but I never knit a cover. I had this plan that I was going to knit a cover, and I just never did. And so I signed up for this test knit with the plans of knitting a big cover for my big water bottle, and then needed to switch gears because I couldn't decide on the yarn for that, but I cast on the small one. I didn't have that much of the white, and so I have this much left. I wouldn't have had enough to do the big version. So anyways, hopefully my hot water bottle itself, my little mini ones, will arrive today, and I can make sure that this is actually going to fit. I've been measuring it, and my gauge is better, and my stitch gauge is right, my row gauge is off, and so I need to, there's been a lot of gauge talk in the chat for this test knit, and so I need to sort that out. I don't know if you can tell, I steamed this bit here, and then I haven't steamed this bit here. Can you tell the difference? I just love steaming my knits so much. So anyways, that is all. That is my last of my WIPs that I will talk about today. I will share one fun acquisition that I have. So I was chatting with Jolene of Jolene Knits a Lot at Knit Night the other night, and about knitting gnomes, because there's like the winter mystery gnome is like coming up, and so I kind of wanted to do it. I almost bought a kit for it, but the shipping was so expensive, and I was like, I probably have yarn at home, it's fine. And then the other day I went to Indigo/Chapters. It's still Chapters in my head, but whatever, it's called Indigo now. And I was looking through all the knitting books, and I have bought a couple of knitting books there, and they had this one, and so I bought it because I've never knit a gnome before, and I could have just signed up to do the one knit along, but instead I bought an entire book of gnomes. And so my plan is that I'm going to knit some gnomes for my kids' teachers for a Christmas gift this year, and I've decided I want to knit this guy. Like, look how cute he is. And so when I was at the Fiber Duck the other day, I bought some yarn, and he's going to be a very Christmassy gnome. So this is the Sheepia's Metropolis, and it's a very nice sock weight yarn. 200 meters per 50 grams. They're like $16 a ball, I think. That's like hand-dyed yarn prices. But I really like it. It's very soft. This is what I'm knitting one of my blankets in that I have on the go. And anyways, they have 1 bazillion colors, and so that's helpful too. And so I have 3 gnomes to knit. And then I bought some different white sock yarn for another project that I'm not going to say out loud what it is, because the person that it's for will be watching this. So this will make an appearance in January, I think, after I've finished it. Hopefully I finish it. So this seems finer. What is this? 420 per 100 grams. So a little bit finer than that, but it seems quite fine. Anyways, I've been trying not to buy yarn because having to pull out every single one of my skeins made me feel overwhelmed about how much yarn I have. And also, those are for gifts, so it's fine. But I still don't feel like my knitting room is back organized again. And that really bothers me. But I just don't know yet what to do next. It still feels quite disheveled, and my house is disheveled. Like, I live in chaos. We have stuff on every surface of our house. I don't know why I expect my knitting room to be any different. But when it's nice and tidy and organized in here, it's so nice. It feels so calm. I like knowing where all of my yarn is, and it just doesn't feel settled again. And so I need to just put in some time and energy to actually make that happen. But I did make one of my swatch boards again, which is nice. Every couple days it gets very messy very quickly, just with all of my mini WIPs, piles of stuff everywhere. So I clean it every couple of days, do a little reset, and then but the big stuff just feels like a lot. I had shoved a bunch of stuff over to the side so that you wouldn't see it, but now I'm going to show it to you. So this is my bit of wool that I carded up, that I had washed, that actually wasn't scoured enough, and so that just sits in a pile here. This is a pile of yarn from a project that I ripped out that I found. I have all these are super cute enamel pins that had been on a project bag that I took off. Oh, this was my other swatch that I brought along to my knitting, how to fix your knitting mistakes, because then you could see each row if you dropped them down, because they were in stripes, which I'm knitting with macrame cord. I had this large green bag that my kids' school supplies came in that had been sitting here, and I was like, that's so ugly, so I moved it. Now I'm showing it to you. Anyways, there's always stuff everywhere. Do you want to see my desk? I'll just show you that too while I'm at it. Here you go. Look at that. It's horrifying. Also, it's just it always looks like that, so I don't know why I'm so upset about it. It's literally my life, but anyways, I think that is everything now. Random question. I was thinking about, as the end of the year is approaching, sometimes I want to do Vlogmas. I know that would not be a good idea for me, but I really enjoy watching other people's Vlogmases. Also, previously, my first year that I was podcasting, I did everything I knit in the year. But partly I did that was because there was a bunch of stuff that I had knit before I started my podcast. And so it gave me a chance to show off all those things that I had knit. And I think I feel like I hardly have finished anything this year. And so that feels kind of boring, but I kind of like the idea about here's everything I've knit in the year, an overview of the year. So I guess I'm wondering Do you like those kinds of videos? Another idea I had would be to like my most worn knits, or how my knits have been holding up over time with like yarn or like fit, whatever, if I like them. Yeah. What do you think? Would that be a type of video that you would be interested in? Let me know in the comments. Or if you're just like, no guarantees, I guess, for me either way. I have low expectations of myself in December. But I did my what I knit in a year in January. So that could be a thing. But anyways, that's all. Thanks for being here. I hope that you are enjoying the things that you're knitting on. I always enjoy hearing what you're working on. So also you can let me know that in the comments if you'd like. And I will see you soon. Happy knitting. Bye.